Hello and welcome back once again to the Wrestling Rant. It's time for the Money in the Bank rant, whatever the fuck. July 14th, 2013, and it took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. As they have said a lot, they've been hyping because RVD's return, and Philadelphia was a big ECW city, so of course. Alright, so the kickoff show. Got a better feed of it this time than I did with Extreme Rules. I know I complained about that last time, but it was a lot better this time. The kickoff panel was Josh Matthews hosting with The Big Show, Kofi Kingston, and Vicky Guerrero. Big eye roll, thank you very much. Anyways, they don't waste too much time. They talked a little bit, and then they just decided to jump right into the tag team title match, which was the big pre-show match. The Usos come out first, followed by Rollins and Reigns of The Shield. Rollins and Reigns defending their titles here, of course. Rollins and Jey Uso start the match. And I kind of... my notes here got kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I kind of maybe took a little too detailed notes, maybe. But anyways, yeah. Rollins and Jey Uso start, but Reigns gets tagged in fairly quickly. Jimmy gets tagged in, Jimmy Uso. The Usos hit a double spine buster on Reigns. And then after that, the Shield guys regroup on the outside of the ring. And then, on the internet-only pre-show for the WWE pay-per-view, they cut to a commercial. I'm in pain saying that because this should not happen. Of course, the commercials were only WWE-related things. They actually showed a commercial for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which is just coming up after the pre-show is over. I'm face-palming right now just saying this because it is so dumb. But yeah, they cut to a commercial. They come back, and Rollins gets tagged in the match. Then Reigns gets tagged back in. Again, the Shield guys are, doing, not necessarily quick tags, but they're doing what a good tag team should. They're wearing the guy down, isolating the one guy, and they're keeping him from tagging his partner. Again, that's good tag team wrestling. So, yeah, but definitely good there. So, yeah. But anyways, the Shield guys are tagging back and forth, and they're making sure that they've got the one Uso guy isolated. And they're making sure that's all good. It goes back and forth, with the one Uso guy getting his ass kicked by the two Shield guys. Yeah. But yeah, so let's see my notes here. Okay, one of the Usos was on the apron, the legal guy, I think, and he gets clocked by Reigns, I think, and then he falls out of the ring. Rollins gets tagged in, and then Reigns gets tagged in, Rollins back in. Again, they're doing these quick tags, back and forth. I'm just going to try and keep ahead, basically. Okay. Here's one interesting note. The one Uso guy was looking like he was going to make the tag, but I think Rollins got thrown out of the ring. He tried to do something but got thrown out of the ring. And while he was on the outside of the ring, he used this opportunity to come up behind the other Uso who was on the apron waiting for the tag. Rollins comes from behind him, grabs him, and trips him and smacks him face first on the apron and takes him out so the guy can't make the tag. So, good stuff there. After that, they cut to another commercial. Again, I'm face palming here. You can hear me slapping myself. A commercial. Two commercials in an online-only pre-show for a wrestling pay-per-view. This makes no sense. What the fuck? Anyways, back to the thing. As soon as they come back from the commercial, the Usos are finally able to make the tag, and the fresh guy comes in. Somebody dives to the outside. I guess I kind of missed a little bit. One of the Usos hits a crossbody on Rollins and gets a 2 count. A big top rope flying crossbody. He gets a 2 count. Then the dude hits a big Samoan drop and gets another 2 count. And I think he goes up to the top rope and Rollins crotches him up top. Right, and this happened in the Usos' corner. So the Uso guy is crotched on the top rope. Rollins goes up top, cinches him for a superplex. The other Uso comes up and gets up underneath Rollins to do the big, like, electric chair drop, right? And then Reigns comes in and gets underneath the second Uso, positioned to give him a power bomb. So we get this big tower of pain come crashing down. So one of the Usos got power bombed, the other one got superplexed. Rollins got the electric chair drop, essentially. And Reigns really didn't get hurt much, but anyways, he still rolls out of the ring afterwards. But whatever. The illegal one of the Usos, I think, rolled out of the ring, and Rollins covered the legal one, but only got a 2 count. I believe Rollins went to go up top, but he got caught somehow. Again, I don't really remember exactly. But he got caught somehow, and then he got super kicked in the face, and that set up the big Jimmy Snuka ripoff splash. The one guy goes up, hits the big splash, and you're thinking this is going to be the end. Well, it would have been, but as the ref is counting, Reigns dives in and makes the save. He breaks up the pin, so there's only a 2 count. The one Uso takes Rollins back up to the... he gets him up Samoan drop position. He gets him up on his shoulders, and then he starts climbing the corner with him. He starts climbing the turnbuckle. He's going to go for like a super Samoan drop. But Rollins counters out of it, drops down, lands on his feet, gets back in powerbomb style. He's got the Uso guy up, and Reigns makes a blind tag, but Rollins takes the Uso across, power bombs him into his own corner, into the turnbuckle bomb, and then Rollins rolls out of the ring to take care of the other Uso, and as the one Uso is reeling from the turnbuckle power bomb, Reigns comes flying across, runs through him with a spear, and at this point I want to start calling him Rhino. He ran him through with a gore! He runs him through with this spear. He makes the cover. 1, 2, 3. The Shield wins, retains the tag titles. By the way, should have mentioned this before, but when the Shield came out, they got a big pop from the crowd. Crowd pops again when they won, which is great because, of course, you know, the Shield is awesome. So, yeah. The Usos decided to fuck off. And then Rollins and Reigns jump up on the announce table just like they did on SmackDown, and they're celebrating. And then all of a sudden, Ambrose pops up out of nowhere. He's got his U.S. title, and he's up there on the table with them too, and they're all doing their little joined fist pose thing, like the pose of justice, you know, the fists of justice, something like that. But he's there, And the segment ends. They cut back to the panel. They're talking a bit. And then they show another RVD hype video. Of course, he's returning tonight. And they cut back to the panel, blah, blah, blah. They cut back to the ring, and Ambrose is still standing in the ring. And I'm like, okay. And then they hit Fandango's music. And Johnny starts coming out with Summer. And I'm like, okay. That's where the pre-show ends. Johnny's coming out. He's pretty much already in the ring. And they end the pre-show. And then they cut directly into the pay-per-view. And they show an intro video. It's the theme of this one is they have these armored trucks that are delivering the Money in the Bank briefcases, because apparently the briefcases are more valuable than money, which I don't know. I think I might rather have the briefcases or the money. But anyways, so they're showing this security guards escorting the briefcases and everything, and it's okay, fine. But yeah, so they're doing their thing, and the video ends, and we get the opening pyro for the pay-per-view, and we also get a good look at the stage finally. And I actually kind of liked the design of the stage. There's no actual stage. It's not lifted up or anything like it normally is for Raw. There's no uplift. There's no ramp. It's just flat. But the stage, or I should say the set, the entryway is, well, the Titantron, I like the way they did this. The Titantron video screen is there, but the way they had it set up is it looked like the screen was on the Money in the Bank briefcase. You can see the outline of the briefcase, and at the top of it you can see the handle, but the screen is on the side of the briefcase there, so it looked really cool. At least I thought it did. And then they had the Minitron, of course, was set up. It was just a crap load of screens that were, like, kind of hard to describe, but the screens led back into the entryway, so it was kind of inset, and then there was the entryway where people would come out. And on the sides, of course, they had a crap load of ladders all set up for the Money in the Bank ladder match. And on each side, they had armored trucks, one on each side. And I'm like, well, that's cool. I got a glance at it during the pre-show, and I'm like, what the hell is an ambulance doing here? And I'm like, no, it's an armored truck, actually. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. They used the trucks during the friggin' intro video, so that makes more sense. Anyways, so the pyro goes off, and yada yada, okay, cool. They cut to the ring where Ambrose and Johnny are still standing there. And Lillian, she says, the following match, scheduled for one fall, is the World Heavyweight Championship Money in the Bank ladder match. And I'm like, Lillian, there's no fall in a ladder match. There's no pinfall, honey. So, I don't know. To me, that seemed like she botched. I don't know, but whatever. She introduces Ambrose and Fandango, and then they hit Swagger's music. And he comes out with Cesaro and Zeb Coulter, and Coulter talks on the way to the ring. Whoop-de-friggin-do. I don't even remember what he said exactly, but he's talking, oh, Swagger and Cesaro, they're real Americans, you know, whatever the fuck. And Philadelphia is the home, the birthplace of America, and you people should be ashamed for being so lazy or whatever. I don't know. Just the same typical boring crap that he always says, honestly. It's nothing new out of him. But yeah, so yeah. But Lillian introduces Ambrose, and Fandango, and then, of course, Swagger and Cesaro. And then, I think it's Damien Sandow's music hits. And so the Rhodes Scholars come out, him and Cody. So they come out and they talk on the way to the ring. And interesting little note, while they're talking, Damien talks first, and then he hands the mic to Cody, and Cody starts saying something, I can't exactly remember what, but Damien grabs the mic away from him and cuts him off and finishes his sentence, what he was going to say, and yeah, so Damien finishes a sentence. They're in the ring. And after they come out, Wade Barrett, they continued to talk while they were in the ring. But as Sandow was about to say something, Wade Barrett's music hits. And so he comes out. Barrett comes out, and whatever the fuck, they finally start the match. And this is a Money in the Bank ladder match, so it's going to be chaotic and hectic as all hell. So, yeah. I didn't catch everything, but I tried to catch the high notes, and, yeah. So, this was a good match. I do want to stress that. Pretty much all the matches were at least good. There was one that wasn't that good, and to be honest, it should be fairly obvious which match was shit. But we'll get to that. Money in the Bank match. Okay. First thing I noticed was they had a ladder set up in the corner. And Cesaro picks Rhodes up and slams him on the ladder. Don't really remember exactly how, but he slammed him on the ladder somehow. Swagger climbs the ladder but gets brought down by Ambrose. Wade Barrett came in somewhere and got nailed by Johnny. Wade uses the ladder. Oh, yeah. Outside of the ring, Wade grabs one of the ladders that's set up along the entryway. He grabs it and breaks the leg off of it. Or I think it might have been one of the step rungs. But he breaks this thing off of it. He goes in the ring and starts whacking people using it as a weapon. So he's got a piece of a ladder. But he's whacking people with it. He hits Sandow with it. And then Wade eats an uppercut. Okay, I think I remember how this was. Wade and Ambrose were both up on the ladder. They're one on each side. And Cesaro and Swagger come up, and Swagger starts yanking at Barrett's leg. He pulls him off the ladder, and as Barrett's coming down, Cesaro uppercuts the fuck out of him. Just clocks Wade with this uppercut. And then Swagger tried to do the same thing with Ambrose, but he couldn't get him off. And Cesaro, pissed off or something. Ambrose jumps down and grabs Swagger, spins around and hits him, plants him with a big DDT. So, Cesaro and Ambrose then wind up on the ladder, and Ambrose wound up turned around somehow, and Cesaro locks him in that headlock he's been doing lately. He's not able to swing him back and forth, but he's holding him so tight, Ambrose's legs are just kind of dangling, kicking and screaming, you know. And, so there's that. If I remember correctly, Cody cinched somebody up off of the ladder. Ambrose, I think. He cinches him up for a muscle buster. If you watch TNA and you watch Samoa Joe, you know what the muscle buster is. But he cinches him up for this muscle buster. There's another ladder set up in one of the corners. corners. Cody falls back and slams him down, Muscle Buster, on this ladder. So there was another moment. Swagger and Barrett were fighting it out on the top of the ladder. No. I think Swagger was just climbing the ladder, and Wade gets in the ring and he sees this. He pulls his elbow pad up, revealing the red thing. I don't know, I probably haven't mentioned this before, but Barrett, under his normal elbow pad, he has like this red elbow pad. I don't know what the hell the thing's supposed to be. I don't know if this thing is loaded or... I don't get it. But he's got this red pad underneath his normal black one. So he pulls down the black one and reveals the red one. And he usually does this before he does the bull hammer elbow. So I'm like, okay, he's going to do it, but how? So he climbs up the ladder real quick. And then he just clocks Swagger with this elbow. And Swagger, of course, falls the fuck down. He's out of the ring. Johnny comes up out of nowhere, and he runs up the ladder real quick and jumps up over it and hits a big sunset flip power bomb on Barrett from off the top of the ladder. And so Barrett's wiped out. Johnny climbs up the ladder. Ambrose stops him. Ambrose climbs up. Cesaro stops him. Okay. After Cesaro stopped Ambrose, Swagger comes back in. And they're thinking they're going to try and double team Ambrose. But after, Ambrose grabs the ladder and he collapses it back down. You know, he gets the legs folded and all that shit. And he gets it and he puts it up over his shoulders. He's got his head sticking through one of the holes. And he starts swinging it around and he smacks Swagger with it. He smacks Cesaro with it. And then, okay. Yeah, so he's doing that, and then, so what happened is, Swagger and Cesaro get up after that, and they both grab one end of the ladder, so Ambrose can't move it. So he's like, you can't do it. Ambrose skins the cat on the ladder. If you've watched a lot of Royal Rumble matches, you probably know what skinning the cat is. It's where you hold on to the top rope from the outside, but you use your upper body strength to pull yourself and like backflip back into the ring. But Ambrose does this with the ladder. He pulls himself up on top of the ladder, and it's like the ladder's being held between like the shoulders of Swagger and Cesaro. So they're like, what the fuck? And Ambrose is on top of the ladder like surf riding it, and he tries to grab at the friggin' briefcase. But Swagger and Cesaro are like, fuck that. They move over to the side of the ring, and they just dump Ambrose out of the ring, so he falls out to the floor. There was that. I have something about Swagger and Cesaro using teamwork. Rhodes comes in and stops. Oh, right, the teamwork spot. Okay, so when they dump Ambrose out of the ring, I think they threw the ladder out of the ring too. But, you know, that's kind of dumb because you need the ladder to climb. The teamwork thing, I think Cesaro got up on the top rope, and Swagger's in the corner with him. And then Swagger holds his arms up, and Cesaro grabs him, and he stands on Swagger's shoulders, and they walk over towards the middle of the ring, and Cesaro tries to reach up and grab the briefcase. They didn't have a freaking ladder, so they're like, okay, we'll just do this. But Cody jumps off the top rope and drop kicks Swagger, so Swagger falls out from under Cesaro, and Cesaro takes a nasty spill. So Swagger and Cesaro were wiped out. Johnny comes into the ring, but he gets hit with a crossroads by Cody. And then Wade comes out, and he gets hit with a crossroads too. Cody goes out of the ring and gets one of the big freaking ladders from the walkway. He gets that. He gets it in the ring. He sets it up. He starts climbing. Ambrose comes out. They start fighting. The two of them, they're both on one side. They're fighting. Ambrose drops down. And then out of nowhere comes Rollins and Reigns, the other two Shield guys. They come in. They stop Rhodes. They knock him the hell out. Johnny eats a spear from Reigns. And then the Usos come back out. And they chase off Rollins and Reigns. No, they don't. They get him out of the ring, and they're fighting him on the outside, and then Cesaro and Swagger join him. You've got 6 guys fighting. And so, yeah, that's going on. And meanwhile, back in the ring, Ambrose has recovered. He sets the big ladder up. He starts climbing. And I think Rhodes comes out, knocks the ladder over, and Ambrose falls on top of the 6 dudes on the outside of the ring. So he wipes all of them out. And then it's looking like, oh shit, nobody else is up. Cody's the only one left. He's in the ring. He's okay. He sets the ladder up. He starts climbing it. And he's about at the top, and all of a sudden you see somebody come up beneath him on the same side of the ladder. It's Sandow. Sandow shoves his punk ass off the ladder. He double crosses his own teammate. Shoves him the fuck off the ladder. Rhodes just takes a back bump in the side of the ring. Off to the side of the ladder. And Sandow gets all the way to the top. He grabs the briefcase, he unhooks it, and he wins. So Damien Sandow is your Mr. Money in the Bank for the World Heavyweight Championship. Double crosses his own partner, but whatever, it's every man for himself, so Sandow starts celebrating. He doesn't seem to care about Cody. They show highlights from the match. And afterwards, Sandow leaves. And this is one thing, I didn't write it down, but I remember. He's at the entryway, and he looks back, and Cody's being attended to by the referee and a doctor or something, because Cody actually kind of looked like he may have been split open a little bit or something. I don't know, maybe banged up from the fall. But they're doing that in the ring. Sandow's at the entryway, and he looks back, and he says, "The best man won." He wasn't on the mic or anything. I could just hear him say it. But anyways, they cut away from that. Or I guess the thing just ends. Oh yeah, they cut back to the ring. And actually, I think they used this opportunity to do basically another commercial. Which, they do this a lot of the time. They show off, commercials for their products or upcoming pay-per-views or whatever. They can't fill the whole time with matches or promos. But yeah, so anyways, they cut back to the ring, and Justin Roberts, the ring announcer, introduces our new Raw general manager, Brad Maddox. And so Maddox comes out. He takes the mic away from Roberts and he shakes his hand. And as Roberts is leaving the ring, Maddox goes, "Thank you, Jeff." I just thought that was hilarious. I have it in my notes that he tells a bad joke. I can't remember what the hell it was, though. But either way, he starts talking. He's essentially sucking up to Vicky, who's still up on the panel. And he says, get a spotlight on her. She's up there in the crowd. Get a spotlight on her. And he says, he says he wants the universe to start a "Thank you, Vicky" chant. He's trying to get this going. Nobody wants to do it because everybody hates Vicky. Whatever the fuck. So he's like, okay, fine. I prepared a tribute video for Vicky's time here. They start this video, and really all it shows is like all these moments of Vicky being humiliated. All these different moments. I can't name all of them. I can't even name half of them, but there was a lot of different stuff, and it's just a lot of her being humiliated, so whatever. So really, the video is just a mockery. Okay, cool. After that, the Miz's music hits, and he starts coming out. And as he's coming out, Brad passes him on the aisleway, and I think Miz kind of like shakes his hand or something. But Miz gets in the ring, and he's of course wearing his nice pay-per-view coat. I love that coat. It's freaking awesome. Curtis Axel's music hits, and he comes out with Heyman, of course. And now it's time for our Intercontinental title match. And the match isn't even really all that far in. Only a few seconds, honestly. Miz ends up on the outside of the ring. And Axel's in the ring, distracting the ref or whatever. And Heyman goes over towards Miz, but Miz looks over and he's like, hey, I know. And Heyman's like, whoa, no. But Miz is like, he gets that devious little smile on his face, and he just kind of smacks his hands together, and then he hits the floor. He just goes down, and he's all like, no, ooh. But the referee turns back, and he's looking down. He sees Miz laid out on the floor, holding his head, and the ref is looking at him, and Miz looks up, and he says, he hit me! He hit me! He's pointing at Heyman. He says, Heyman hit me! He didn't, of course. But the ref is like, well, fuck this. He ejects Heyman. He says, you're out of here. Get the fuck out. Heyman leaves, of course. And shortly after that, the crowd starts a We Want Heyman chant. Okay, fine. The match finally really starts going, and Axel is dominating for some reason. But Miz makes a comeback, but Axel gets the upper hand again. He hits a perfect plex and gets a 2 count. And then Miz locks him in the figure 4. Axel rolls it over and reverses the pressure, so he reverses it. Miz is able to reverse back and get it back to normal. But at that point, Axel's able to get a rope break. And then after that, they get up. Axel grabs Miz by the head and hits him for that swinging neckbreaker face plant thing that I think he stole from Derek Bateman. But anyways, he hits that, and he gets the win. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so he hits that, and he gets the win. So Axel retains the Intercontinental title. That sucks. But anyways, they go to like another commercial type thing, and it's a SummerSlam video, because SummerSlam is next month, and it's going to be in Los Angeles. And then AJ's music hits, and she comes out with Big E. And Kaitlyn's music hits, she comes out with Layla. And it's time for our Divas title match. Oh yeah, by the way, the Intercontinental title match was actually good, aside from the finish, you know. I don't want to see Axel win, he sucks. But whatever. So yeah, the Divas title match. They show a recap of the contract signing from SmackDown. I just got that thing posted earlier. And this match was also good. Again, it's your 2 best divas, or 2 of the best divas, so it can't be, you know, complete shit, but it's a good match. So they start having the match, and before the match starts, as Kaitlyn's coming out, I think it was Michael Cole says, after they show the recap, Kaitlyn speared AJ at the end of that, and apparently Kaitlyn hurt her elbow in the process of spearing AJ. So they make a note of that. As Kaitlyn's coming out, she's wearing like an elbow brace or an elbow pad thing. And so apparently her elbow is hurt. And that plays into the match. The match starts and Kaitlyn dominates for the early going. AJ is able to reverse, and Kaitlyn goes into the post elbow. Oh, right, they're on the outside of the ring. Caitlyn gets AJ up for like a power slam. I guess she was going to ram AJ into the post. But AJ slips down the back and shoves Caitlyn into the post, and Caitlyn runs into it elbow first. So she smacks her hurt elbow on the post. AJ starts working the arm, of course, as any smart person would, but Caitlyn comes back. And in the middle of that, AJ slaps Caitlyn in the face, and of course this pisses Caitlyn off. So Caitlyn's all fired up, she starts going crazy, and so Caitlyn's going crazy, and AJ is able to reverse something into an arm breaker. She grabs Caitlyn's arm, outstretches it, jumps up, double knee across the arm, you know, the arm breaker. Del Rio does the same move. But yeah, so she does this. And then shortly after that, AJ went up to the top rope. I don't know what the hell she was going to go for, but Caitlyn comes up, pushes AJ, and AJ flies off, but she lands on top of Biggie, and Biggie catches her over his shoulder. Of course, AJ hardly weighs anything, so AJ catches her with ease, because she's a frickin' featherweight. But Biggie catches her, and he sets her down. AJ gets back in the ring, and Caitlyn's able to hit the spear, but in the process, she hurts her elbow again. So she's not able to make the cover. They both get up. AJ hits the ropes, comes running, tilt-a-whirl, locks in the Black Widow submission. And she gets it locked in deep. Caitlyn fights for a minute, but she ends up face down, and she's got nowhere to go, so she has to tap out. So AJ retains. After that, they do another sort of commercial break thing, this time showing a commercial for their stupid new Total Divas show, which is debuting on the E! Network soon. And speaking of, if I may digress for a minute, I may have mentioned I don't remember which video it was a couple videos back, there was some redhead-looking chick with Natalia during a match, I think. I found out this girl is going to be a new diva. She's already supposedly debuted. I haven't seen a match of hers yet, but apparently she's also on this Total Divas video. But anyways, her name is Eva Marie. I'm like, okay. And yeah, her and this other chick were in some backstage segment with the Bellas. And the other chick's name was Coco, I think, or something like that. But anyways, so there was that, but whatever. After the Total Divas commercial, they cut back to the panel. And they talk about, you know, the Divas title match and the Intercontinental title match. And after that, they cut back to the arena, and Jericho comes out. And then Ryback's music hits, and he comes out. He still doesn't get any pyro. He's not even doing his thing. His little raising his arms and doing the thing and then the big thing. He doesn't even do that. He just walks straight out, gets in the ring, and they show another recap of the feud between these two. And whatever the fuck. So Ryback and Jericho start having their match, and again, this was a good match, surprisingly. Although, as much as I kind of dislike Jericho right now for not retiring when it's obvious he's past his prime and he really needs to retire, Jericho's still good enough. He can go, he can carry people, even a piece of crap like Ryback. But yeah, so but yeah, so they start going with their match, and it's back and forth for a bit. Ryback rolls out of the ring, and he's regrouping, and the referee's counting. But he gets back up on the apron, and I guess that broke the count, because Ryback drops back down to the floor to regroup some more. Whatever the fuck. The referee's again counting. But before he gets to 10, Jericho comes running and does a drop kick through the ropes. Nails Ryback, gets him back into the ring. Jericho throws Ryback into the ring, but Jericho jumps up to the apron, and then he goes up to the top rope in the corner. And Ryback is turned around, facing the other direction from the corner. Jericho comes on him from behind and forearm shots him right in the back of the head. And so this actually looked like a pretty sick shot, but whatever. Ryback's able to come back after that. Jericho starts targeting the leg, again because the whole leg thing, and that's what Ryback quit during his match with The Miz from a couple weeks ago. But Jericho targets the leg. Ryback is able to come back again. Oh yeah. He gets Jericho down in the middle of the ring. And then Ryback goes over to the corner and he gets up to the second rope. And he raises his arms up over his head and just kind of falls straight down and just splashes Jericho. And he hits it. And I'm like, okay, well that was new. He doesn't jump or anything. He just falls straight down, like how Benoit used to do the headbutt. Just falls straight down. But he does that. I think Jericho rolled out onto the apron after that. And Ryback comes run and he clocks Jericho. And Jericho goes flying off the apron towards the announce tables. And I'm like, okay, so he's going to smack off of one of the announce tables. But no. They have the Spanish announce table there. But there's a gap in between them, obviously. Jericho goes flying off the apron, and he parts the seas, apparently, and he falls and lands in between both tables. So he doesn't eat either one of the tables, he just hits the floor between them. And so, yeah. They get back in the ring. Jericho goes for the walls of Jericho, but Ryback fights it off and blocks it. Okay, I think Jericho went to come down off the top rope with a double axe handle, but Ryback catches him and does a big overhead belly-to-belly suplex. So that was kind of cool. And then afterwards, Ryback comes running across and he hits the meat hook clothesline. And then he sets him up for the shell shock, but Jericho fights out of it, and then goes for the code breaker. But Ryback holds on to him, and I think he just kind of slammed him down. And while he was down, Ryback goes over to him, cinches him up he gets his legs over his shoulders, he cinches him up for a power bomb, deadlifts him up from the ground, and then just power bombs the fuck out of him. So we got a nice big power bomb there. And right, okay, so they both get back up, and I think Ryback was running at Jericho. Jericho goes running, he drops Ryback in the knee. And then Ryback goes down, of course, he rolls out to the apron, and he gets up. Jericho comes running and springs up off the ropes and kicks Ryback in the side of the head with a big enziguri. And that, of course, knocked Ryback down. But he's still on the apron, I think. He goes to get back in the ring, he's coming through the ropes, and Jericho hits a code breaker on him, like he did on Axel on SmackDown. But he hits this code breaker, and of course Ryback falls back out of the ring all the way to the floor. And the referee starts counting, so this is almost looking like it's going to be a repeat of the finish of the match from SmackDown, which would suck, honestly. But no, the referee is counting, and he gets to 7 or 8, and Ryback starts getting up, and Ryback rolls into the ring, and he beats the count, just barely though. But yeah, so yeah, so, okay, so we got that cleared out. Alright. Right, Ryback rolls in and he beats the count. He beats the count, and I think Jericho comes flying down on him with a crossbody, and he hits that. And then Jericho hits the ropes, and Ryback's back up, and Ryback catches Jericho up in a gorilla press, and then he brings him down and cinches him up for the shell shock, but Jericho gets out of it and counters into a DDT. So he does that, and then Ryback's down, of course, right in the middle of the ring. Jericho looks and he sees this. He goes over to the ropes and he springs off and he goes for the lion salt, but Ryback rolls out of the way. Jericho lands on his feet, but Ryback's behind him. He goes down, Schoolboy rolls him up, and gets the 1-2-3. So Ryback wins, but with a really weak finish, this Schoolboy roll-up. And I'm like, what the fuck? But Ryback won. This confused the hell out of me, because if they really want to make Ryback look good, he needs like a definitive win. This Schoolboy was just really cheap, especially after Ryback was made to look like a bitch when Justin Gabriel kicked the shit out of him, and Justin Gabriel kicked the shit out of his legs, and that's what started the whole leg injury thing. And then The Miz the next week beat his legs up so bad Ryback had to quit on the match. And then there was that, and then now, and he faked a leg injury on, he faked an injury on SmackDown against Miz and was able to use that to get the win. But it's still, like, you're making Ryback look really weak with this whole thing, and it just confuses the hell out of me. If you want to make him look good, you need to build him up and make him look good, you know. He was supposed to be this, like, unstoppable monster, right? And then he's getting beat by these jobbers. Well, maybe not jobbers. Miz ain't no jobber. But, I mean, he's getting beat up by Justin Gabriel, who's essentially a jobber. And then he quits in the match with The Miz. I mean, really, it just makes Ryback look like a bitch. But anyways, back to the show. After the match finishes, they cut to, like, another commercial thing. And this time, it's a video for their new performance center, which they just opened up down in Florida. And I may have mentioned this before. This is where NXT is going to be now. So yeah, they're showing this video. All the big wigs are talking about it. Triple H and Steph, and they're all, happy and everything. And so they show that, and then they cut back to the arena where they're showing a recap for the feud between Ziggler and Del Rio. And of course, this thing goes all the way back to the night after WrestleMania, when Ziggler cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase and won the title in the first place. But yeah, so they recap the whole thing, and of course there's a lot of clips from Extreme Rules last month. Yeah. Or no, it was Payback last month. That's what it was. So whatever. After the recap, Ziggler's music hits, and there's a big pop from the crowd. Of course, they still love Ziggler. But Ziggler comes out, and he gets in the ring, and then Del Rio's music hits. The crowd goes dead. They couldn't give a fuck about Del Rio. And again, I don't blame him. So Del Rio gets nothing. They both get in the ring, and Lillian introduces them both. They get the big match introductions, and they start having the match. And so Once again, this match was actually pretty good up until the finish. We will get to that, though. And also, you might have noticed that I said Ziggler comes out, but AJ and Big E are nowhere to be found. Ziggler was out by himself. And Ricardo is still supposedly injured, so he's not there either. And, so yeah, they start having the match. And immediately, before the match even really starts, the crowd starts chanting, "Let's go, Ziggler!" And they did this a couple more times during the match. Of course, again, like I said, they love Ziggler, and so do I. It's nice to see another guy from Ohio who's succeeding. Yes, if you didn't know, Ziggler's actually from Ohio. He went to Kent State, which is in Ohio. And I say another Ohio boy because we also have Dean Ambrose. He's from Cincinnati. But anyways, so they do the chant, and again, just brief sort of highlight notes. Ziggler hits his big, beautiful drop kick, which is great. Del Rio winds up in the corner, and Ziggler's able to hit his big stinger splash, which he never used to hit before, but now he hits it. And then Del Rio makes his comeback. He gets Ziggler tied up in the ropes. Or no. Or no. Okay, that's later. After the stinger splash, Ziggler gets Del Rio down, body slams him or something, and then he starts doing his repeating elbow drops. Just elbow after elbow after elbow, and then he gets up and he spins around, he slicks his hair back and flicks it, and he does the one big jumping one, and he hits it, nails it. And that's all great. I think Ziggler wound up on the apron, and Del Rio runs at him and jumps up and hits the big enziguri. Right, he does that, he knocks Ziggler down, and then he goes out after him and grabs him, rams him into the barricade on the outside. Back in the ring, though, Ziggler's able to hit another beautiful drop kick, and he goes for the stinger splash again, but Del Rio gets out of the way. And Dolph apparently hit the post. After that, Del Rio gets Ziggler tied up in the ropes, and he starts doing those kidney shots again. And of course, like before, he ends it with one more elbow shot right to the back of the head, because apparently he's going to keep working the head, because he thinks that Ziggler might still be concussed, which he's not. But he does that. After that, Del Rio does Ziggler's, slicking the hair back and flicking it. He's mocking him with his pose, whatever the hell. Oh, right. Ziggler was still not tied up in the ropes, but throated on the ropes. And Del Rio does this spot a lot, where he gets the guy throated on the ropes, and then he hits the other ropes, comes out, and he goes to, ass swamp them or whatever while they're on the ropes, but he ends up missing it every goddamn time, and he just slips through the ropes and lands on his ass. Well, that's basically what happens. Ziggler gets out of the way, and Del Rio flies out of the ring, so he's outside, and as Del Rio's coming back inside, he goes up to the top rope, but Ziggler catches him, runs up the top rope, grabs him, and hits the big Super X Factor face buster from the top rope. So there's big fucking huge move number one. They're both down for a bit, but Ziggler rolls over and gets the cover and gets a 2 count. They both get up and they're trading blows, just forearm shots, that sort of thing. Del Rio hits the post. Yeah, Ziggler was in the corner, and Del Rio went to charge him with a shoulder block, but Ziggler gets out of the way, and Del Rio shoulder first into the post. So there's that. Ziggler goes for the Faymaster, but Del Rio gets out of it. He catches Ziggler into a German suplex. It was actually a nice looking spot. Ziggler goes for his drop kick again, but Del Rio dodges it. And Ziggler winds up in the corner. Del Rio comes running to do the big corner enziguri, but Ziggler ducks and Del Rio misses that. And then he comes running up from behind him and he hits the Faymaster. He nails that and he only gets a 2 count. Okay, after that, I think there was some more stuff, but Del Rio goes up to the top rope, and it's looking like he's going to come down with a double axe handle, and you know how this is going to end. He's coming down. Ziggler jumps up, drop kicks him in midair. So there's that. And it's about at this point where AJ's music hits. And you know I mentioned she wasn't out there for the entrance. She comes out now. She comes out, she's got her Divas title. There's no Big E, though. But she comes out, she's skipping down to the ring. She skips all the way around the ring and back over to the ramp side. And this whole time, Ziggler's like, what the hell? You know? But he looks over at her, and he's like, no, I don't need you. Get out of here. I got this, you know? Basically, Ziggler's just being distracted this whole time. But he's able to jump up, and he grabs Del Rio with that big jumping DDT. He nails that. But then he goes up to the top rope. But he gets crotched by Del Rio. And now he's turned around, facing the outside. And Del Rio cinches him up, super reverse suplex. He nails that. And Del Rio gets a 2 count afterwards. And at this point, Del Rio's starting to get frustrated, you know, whatever. He goes for that kneeling super kick, which is the move that won him the title back at Payback. He hits it, he goes for the pin, but still only gets a 2 count. Ziggler's able to kick out. After that, Ziggler kind of rolls over. He's towards the corner. He's kind of propped up against the corner, and Del Rio's in the opposite corner. He pulls down his knee pad and reveals that he's got like a knee brace underneath it. And I'm like, okay, what's he going to do here? He goes to... From the looks of it, he went for the super kick again, but Ziggler caught him and spun him around. And just as this is happening, AJ gets in the ring and clocks Del Rio with the Divas title. Right in front of the referee. So the referee's like, well, obviously, ring the bell, that's a DQ. So Ziggler gets DQ'd and Del Rio retains by disqualification. And of course, AJ looks all sad and everything. She's, I'm sorry. But Ziggler, he don't want to hear it, you know. He leaves, and as he's walking up the ramp, or the walkway area, the crowd starts chanting, "You screwed Ziggler!" So yeah, there's that. So that part ends. And they do another recap, this time of Mark Henry and John Cena. Of course, this all goes back to when Henry was supposedly going to retire, but it was just a swerve and whatever. So they show this recap and whatever the fuck. Henry comes out and Cena comes out, and it's time for the WWE title match. They get the introductions, of course, Roberts introduces them, and we get the big match feel. And as I said earlier, one of these matches had to be shit. And this is it right here. You've got two pieces of crap who are not very good wrestlers. This is what happens when you book this crap. You don't book two hosses like this against each other. And yes, Cena is a fucking hoss, and so is Mark Henry. Neither one of them is a very good wrestler. So neither one of them can really carry a match. And that's why this match ends up sucking. But anyways, so they're having the match, whatever. The match starts. Henry starts dominating early, of course. Outside the ring, they wind up on the outside, and Henry lifts Cena up for a suplex over by the corner. And he drops him like legs first on top of the ring stairs. So, okay. The crowd starts chanting sexual chocolate. Back in the ring, Cena makes a brief comeback but gets cut off. Henry gets him down and grabs him by the legs and does like a big swing and swings him and throws him across the ring. Back outside, he gets Cena down again and does the same time. This time he swings him and slams him into the barricade. Back in the ring, Cena is able to sort of come back. He tries to lift Henry, but again collapses. So Henry's wailing on him. Cena makes a comeback. Tries to lift Henry again for the attitude adjustment, but collapses again. They get up. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened here. I think Henry went for the world's strongest slam. Or no. Well, in any event, Cena wound up like doing like a tornado DDT, like a standing thing, but it looked really sloppy, but he was countering out of something. I can't remember what exactly Henry was doing, but Cena gets up and he gets this really, he swings around and he just drops him with this DDT. It looked like shit, really. But anyways, after that, Cena goes for the attitude adjustment again, and this time he's actually able to lift Henry up, and he hits the attitude adjustment. But he goes for the cover, and he only gets a 2 count. Henry kicks out. Cena goes up to the top rope, and he dives down with like a crossbody. And I'm like, yeah, that's dumb. Henry catches him, of course. World's strongest slam. Slams him out. Slams him with it. And he goes for the cover, but Cena kicks out at 2. Afterwards, Henry goes over to the corner and he rips the turnbuckle pad off. And the ref sees this and he's like, no, you can't do that. So he goes over and he's trying to put the pad back on. Meanwhile, Henry goes out of the ring and grabs 2 chairs. He throws one of them in the ring and the referee sees it and he's like, no, you can't do that. He grabs the chair and starts, getting rid of it. Henry gets in the ring with the other chair. But then the referee turns around and sees the other chair, and he starts getting that one out of the ring. And meanwhile, while the referee's distracted with that one, Mark pulls the turnbuckle pad off of another corner. But this backfires as Cena shoves Henry into the exposed turnbuckle pad. And then as Henry turns around, he gets tripped, and Cena locks in the STF. But Henry's able to get to the ropes and gets a rope break. Afterwards, they get up and they're back in the corner, the same one with the exposed turnbuckle. And they're both in the corner and they're fighting, and the ref comes over, and then somebody gets shoved and the ref gets knocked over. Right, Henry shoves Cena, and Cena falls back and kind of clocks the referee. And he gets up and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, of course, him being the Boy Scout. But he turns around at Henry, and Henry just blatantly kicks him right in the nuts. So he nutshots Cena. But the referee wasn't really knocked out or anything. He just kind of got knocked on his ass, kind of discombobulated, not really hurt or anything. But after the nut shot, Cena goes down and Henry covers him, and the ref counts, but only gets a 2 count, and Cena kicks out. They get up, and Mark goes for the world's strongest slam again, but as he lifts him up for it, he lifts him up too hard, and I've seen this so many times, it's so predictable. He lifts him up, and Cena jumps out of it, lands on his back, or lands on his feet behind Henry, trips him into the STF again, and right in the middle of the ring. But Henry starts, crawling towards the ropes. But as he's doing this, Cena lets out of it, but he pulls Henry back by the leg, back into the middle ropes, locks the STF back in, right in the middle of the rope, right in the middle of the ring. And by this time, Henry's got nowhere to go. He taps out. So again, Henry looks like a bitch, tapping out to Cena after all that hype and all that build. Such a fucking stupid, shitty, crappy match with two crappy wrestlers who ain't worth shit. Anyways, they play highlights of it again, whatever. Henry leaves, Cena celebrates, then he leaves too. They cut back to the panel, and they're talking about that match and the Del Rio Ziggler match. And then they cut to a recap, or they cut back to the announcers who say that, Kane's not going to be able to be in the Raw Money in the Bank match because of the attack by the Wyatt family. And so they say that, and then they basically just do a recap of that, the Wyatt's debut, and then the attack on Kane and everything, and whatever the fuck. So they do that, and after that, they cut back to the ring, and it's time for our actual main event of the evening, and that is the WWE title Money in the Bank match. And again, this was a good match. RVD is the first to come out. Big pop from the crowd. Christian comes out next, and then Daniel Bryan, and then Randy Orton, and then Sheamus, and then CM Punk. And Punk also gets a pretty big pop. I think his was even bigger than RVD's. But at the start of the match, all 6 guys are in the ring, and they're all just kind of backed up against the ropes, and they're all just kind of staring at each other. They don't really want to make any move. But all of a sudden, RVD decides to be his stupid, cocky, douchebag self. He does his little RVD while he's pointing to his own head with his thumbs. While he's doing that, all 5 of the other dudes come over and they just beat the fuck out of him. They mug this guy. They beat the shit out of RVD. They throw his ass out of the ring. So now it's down to 5 guys in the ring. And I don't really remember if anything happened to provoke this, but I guess the other 4 guys decide to go over and beat the shit out of Sheamus. So they do the same thing to him, I guess because he's the biggest. So they beat the hell out of him. They throw him out of the ring. And then it boils down to like a 2-on-2 just sort of fight with Bryan, Orton, Christian, and Punk. So they're all 4 fighting in the ring. Meanwhile, RVD gets back up on the apron, but he gets knocked off. Sheamus comes back in with a ladder. He whacks a few people with it, and then Randy comes up behind him and drop kicks the ladder into him. RVD is able to get back in the ring finally, and he gets Daniel Bryan. I think he body slams him on one of the ladders. And so he's got him on there. He does the Rolling Thunder and he hits that. He also did pretty much all of his other things. His little monkey flip thing. He came flying into the ring doing his little martial arts flying kick on Randy. All that stuff, whatever the fuck. But after the Rolling Thunder, RVD goes up to the top rope. And I don't remember what happened, but somebody cracks him and he flies off the top rope out to the outside of the ring, and he lands on top of a pile of ladders. There's like a pile of ladders on like every side of the ring. But he lands on top of one of them, so he's wiped out for a while. Back in the ring, Christian has a ladder set up, and he climbs up. Sheamus stops him. Then Sheamus climbs, and Christian stops him. And then Sheamus climbs again. RVD's back in, and he stops Sheamus. But again, they get the ladder laid out on the floor or on the ring mat, and Sheamus grabs Rob and gets him up on his shoulders, and he does his little rolling senton thing, but he does it on the ladder. So there's that. Okay, on the outside of the ring, Sheamus sets one of the big ladders up between the ring apron and the Spanish announce table. And I'm like, okay, but you need one of those big ladders to climb the thing, so what's the point of that? But I guess because, they needed it for this spot, and it's the only ladder long enough to do it. But he gets this set up. And he gets up on the corner by where this is, the top rope corner, and he's up there with Daniel Bryan. And Bryan fights him off, and he kind of kicks Sheamus away, and Sheamus falls off the apron, but he lands on his feet and does a little, roll, and then he gets up and turns around, but as he turns around, Bryan jumps down, he gets down onto the apron, he jumps over the ladder, and then comes screaming across, jumps down with that big flying knee, and he nails Sheamus in the face with it and just wipes him out. Bryan's flying. Okay, yeah. Back in the ring, Punk sets up a ladder in the ring and starts climbing up. Randy comes in and stops him, and then Randy climbs, but he gets stopped by Christian. Bryan sets up another ladder next to that one, and then there's a big clusterfuck. Everybody is up on top of these two ladders. Everybody, all 6 guys. And, but something happens, and both ladders fall over, and everybody falls down. Sheamus recovers first, I guess, and he starts a roll going. He's hitting everybody. And he gets a ladder propped up in the corner. And he gets, I think it was Christian. He gets Christian set up for the white noise, but first he slams him back first against the ladder in the corner, and then he comes out of the corner and he drops him with the white noise. So like a ladder-assisted white noise there. Sheamus sets up a ladder and climbs. RVD stops him, just kind of pulls him down off the ladder, but Sheamus just brogue kicks him. So wipes out Rob. Sheamus again starts climbing, but Bryan stops it, or Bryan goes up the other side of it, and they're fighting on the top of the ladder. And then Sheamus turns Bryan around and starts doing the clubbing on the top of the ladder. And he does that, and then he just kind of shoves Bryan off. Punk comes up and stops Sheamus. And then Sheamus winds up in the corner, the same one with the ladder. He's propped up against the ladder. Punk runs up and hits the big corner knee on the thing with the ladder. And then he comes down, Punk does. He goes out to the apron, he goes up to the top rope, and Sheamus is still propped up against the ladder in the same corner. And Punk rides the ladder down and slams Sheamus down on his face with the ladder on top of him. So, yeah, there's that. Randy comes out of nowhere, and I guess he cracks. Yeah, he starts getting on Punk, and then Randy sets Punk up for that T-bone suplex he's been doing lately. And there's another ladder set up in a different corner, leaned up against the corner. And Randy, they're up against it. He turns him around and throws him back T-bone into this ladder. So he slams him against the ladder. And then he gets Punk set up and he hits the rope-hung DDT. And then Christian comes out of nowhere and hits the spear on Randy. And he sets up another ladder, starts climbing. And RVD stops him. And then he starts climbing. And then Christian stops him. Okay, this was weird. They had the ladder set up in the middle of the ring where the two of them were climbing. But there was another ladder set up in the corner, in one of the corners. And I guess they were fighting, RVD and Christian were fighting up top of the ladder. And the ladder got knocked off balance or whatever, but it starts falling over. Rob jumps to the other ladder, so he's okay. Christian falls down with the ladder. He's hurt, but he's in the middle of the ring. And RVD's on the other ladder. He goes up he goes around the outside of it, and then he comes up to the top of the ladder. And he just kind of falls down and hits like a 5-star splash. Not really a frog splash, but he does a 5-star splash from the top of the ladder, and he nails it on Christian. He's hurt, or RVD is hurt, but he's okay enough. He gets up, he sets up another ladder, he starts climbing. Sheamus comes in and stops him. And then Bryan comes in, and he gets both Sheamus and RVD down on their knees, and he's doing the back and forth, kicking one of them and then the other, and he's doing that. Then there's something with Bryan with a ladder. I think he just picked up the ladder and just started hitting people with it, I guess. Oh yeah, during this, Sheamus goes up to the top rope, the one over by where the ladder was set up from earlier. And yeah, I'm sure you can probably see where this is going. Bryan goes over and cracks Sheamus in the face with the top of the ladder. Sheamus falls out of the ring through the ladder on the outside of the ring, and it breaks. So there's that. Oh yeah, Bryan gets another big ladder, and he sets it up in the middle of the ring, and he starts climbing it. And this is getting towards the finish of the match, and this is the end of the show, by the way. So yeah, Bryan's climbing the ladder, and he's going up for the briefcase, when all of a sudden, Curtis Axel comes from out of nowhere, and they didn't even know who the hell it was at first, because it was just like, okay, it's a blurry thing with black trunks on and whatever. He comes out, and he grabs Bryan, and gets him off the ladder, gets him on the outside of the ring, and he does again that neck breaker spinning into a face plant. He hits that on Bryan on the outside of the ring. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But he takes out Bryan with that, and he gets up and he turns around, and there's Punk. Punk lifts him up, hits the go to sleep on Axel out on the floor. And so Punk's kind of wiped out after this. Heyman comes out, and he's yelling at Axel. Again, I don't really know why. But Punk gets back in the ring. The ladder is still set up. He starts climbing the one side of it, and there's still another ladder set up on the ropes on the side of the ladder that Punk is climbing. So I'm like, okay, this is bad. I was figuring this whole time that Brock would come out and cost Punk the match, and it would set up the match between the two of them at SummerSlam. But no. What happens is, as Punk is climbing the ladder, Heyman jumps in the ring, and he grabs the other ladder and slams it up against Punk's legs. And so Punk's like, ow, and he drops down, of course, because, you know, you get something slammed into your legs while you're climbing a ladder, you're going to drop down. He drops down, and Heyman slams the ladder up against Punk again, sandwiches him in between the two ladders. And Punk's down on one knee now, so he's down, and he's looking up at Heyman, and I don't get this at all, though. But yeah, so Punk's down on one knee, and Heyman slams the ladder up against Punk again, and this time it looks like it cracks him right in the head. So he basically knocks Punk the fuck out, and he starts leaving with Axel, and they get a shot of Punk, and he's bleeding from the head pretty bad, actually. So Punk's out of the ring. RVD gets back in the ring, and he starts climbing the one side. Randy comes in behind him and grabs Rob by the leg and kind of pulls him off, and as Rob is falling, Randy jumps up and catches him, RKO's the fuck out of him. And so RVD's wiped out. He's out of the ring. Randy climbs the ladder. He grabs the briefcase, and he wins. So Randy Orton is our Raw WWE title Money in the Bank winner. To the shock of friggin' everyone, because nobody thought Randy would be really going anywhere for a while. You know, after his suspension a while back for failing the wellness policy, didn't think that was going to happen. Wow. But yeah, so Randy wins the WWE title Money in the Bank contract. And this now sets up, since Cena retained in his match versus Henry, this sets up what appears to be another feud between Randy Orton and Cena. And it's funny because if I recall correctly, the ending to their last feud was they would never wrestle against each other for the WWE title ever again. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I could have swore there was something like that somewhere during their last feud. But yeah, so I don't know. But yeah, Randy has the WWE Money in the Bank, and Damian Sandow has the World Heavyweight title Money in the Bank. The match was still pretty good for that. Like I said, all the matches were pretty much good, aside from Henry and Cena, which was complete shit. Overall, but yeah, after the match, they show the highlights and Randy celebrates, and that's the end of the pay-per-view. So, yeah, that was pretty much the end of it. No titles changed hands, by the way. I just want to point that out. Aside from the crappy Cena and Henry match and some kind of head-scratching moments during the Money in the Bank matches, Sandow winning, I kind of figured, or maybe I was just hoping, that Ambrose would win that one. I kind of figured he'd have help from the Shield, but, you know, I was really psyched when they came out, the Shield guys came out, and they were helping Ambrose, but no, they ended up with the thing, and Damian wins, and whatever the hell. But yeah, so that's the end of the pay-per-view. Again, like I said, this kind of sets up an interesting feud that's probably going to take place between Randy and Cena. And also, since Del Rio retained the world title from Ziggler, something tells me that because of the way it ended, Ziggler's going to get one more shot. Because he'll talk to Teddy, and he'll be like, AJ interfered, I didn't want her to, I can do this by myself, you know, give me another chance. And Ziggler may even say, you know, go ahead and ban AJ from ringside. I don't want her out there distracting me or whatever. But yeah. So I can see that happening, but somewhere Sandow will be lurking, waiting to cash in his thing. It'll either be him and Del Rio or him and Ziggler. That'll be interesting. So there's that, and then there's Cena and Orton. I don't really... We've seen that feud 100 fucking times before. And it's so boring and so bad at this point. I like Randy, but... Jesus. They really could have given this to Daniel Bryan or Christian. Christian's never been WWE champion. He's been World Heavyweight champion. But he's never been WWE champion. Bryan has never been WWE champion. I pretty much knew RVD wasn't going to win it. I just kind of thought they're like, okay, we're in Philadelphia, let's bring back RVD just for the lulz. And that's basically what it was. He gets to eat an RKO at the end of the match for the finish. But yeah, so I guess that's all I got for this that was the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. Don't know what else to say, so I guess that's it. I guess we will see you tomorrow night for Raw. And please join us then. Thank you for watching the Wrestling Rant tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night for Raw.